You are now listening to the smooth sounds of Love Atiya. Ciao, beautiful souls. My name's Atiya, and I am your future bestie in your head. I am a sex-positive animal activist. I grew up in Queens, New York, and was homeschooled/unschooled for about 12 years. I was a virgin until I was 24 and attempted to have a hoe phase for 2 years, which eventually led me to being accidentally/intentionally celibate. And here we are today. My past left me with a lot of wild stories, a lot of lessons, and a hell of a lot of trauma. Thank God for my wicked sense of humor, because God only knows I would have perished by now. With that being said, this is your gentle reminder that the Love Atiya experience was created as a safe space for me to reflect and share the lessons that I've learned from past traumas. Shit gets real on this podcast, and topics such as domestic violence, sexual assault, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, and suicide may be referenced. If you are working through feeling triggered by certain topics, this may not be the show for you right now, and that's okay. Healing takes time and isn't linear. I'll be here when you're ready. Now, without further ado, the Love Atiya experience is an experience. So get ready for laughs, crazy story times, and life-changing pleasure tips here on the Love Atiya Experience podcast. Hey, beautiful souls, it's your girl Love Atiya, and welcome to the Love Atiya Experience. I just want to say that before this, I'm going to insert a clip where there's like a high-pitched like meek in it, so I didn't put it in the very beginning of this, but let me insert me singing some Patti LaBelle, in which I actually feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like, we're gonna be humble and say a 6. We're gonna be humble, and then I want y'all to say like, no, you were an 8. No, you were an 8. All right, insert clip. Somebody loves you, baby. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Somebody loves you, baby. You know who it is. Ooh. Tell me that shit didn't sound fucking amazing. All right, now, Mercury's in retrograde, so we're gonna roll with the fucking punches here. It's just fuck it all, in the words of Elle Varner. But I'm just so excited about the new year. I actually had another episode planned to release, and that episode is great, but I just have so many things in my heart that are like very current in time, and I really want to get them off my chest before 2023, because I feel like I need to establish some new shit for the new year. So I'm so excited. It's gonna be a great ass episode per usual. Also, I just want to let y'all know that I told y'all I had like a lot of new things happening for the podcast before season 3. One of the biggest things that I'm excited about is that I have been having interviews with some of my favorite fucking people. I've interviewed my mom. I've interviewed Nigel from the Nigel Marcellus podcast interview series. I've interviewed Nadine from the Sober Butterfly. I've interviewed the Gross Demon, Alex Monroe. Like, I'm so excited. I have an interview with Bailey coming up tomorrow. Like, this is a perfect way for me to end my 2023, and it's with doing some new shit. I also have a very, very special announcement, because one of my rules for 2024 is that, like, I can't share, like, all my new shit. Like, if I have good news and it's good shit, I'm kind of keeping it close to me until, like, it flourishes into, like, either being a thing, like, once it's a thing, then I can share it with y'all. Or if it's already happened, then I can share it with y'all. But it's not just a y'all thing. It's just a life in general thing. I feel like I've gotten a lot of opportunities, and then I've shared them, and then they've been a bust, right? Like, I got hired by this company, and like the pay rate was amazing. Company ended up being a scam, ended up like switching employees and shit, and then like I never got my money. I never did the work either, so like fuck them. But yeah, it was very, so I'm just trying to try something new, in which if I get a new opportunity, I just want to keep it close. But I will say that today I got to speak to a CEO of a sex toy company, a woman founder, and it was just such a beautiful conversation. Like, I need y'all to fully understand how absolutely empowered I felt after that conversation, and it was something that was really so needed. So I'm so grateful. I can't wait for y'all to see like what comes up, what new things are gonna be happening with this sex toy company, because that is one thing that I don't mind talking about in 2024, because I feel like I just need everybody to fucking know about it and know how hard I'm working and how many obstacles that I've faced. including why I don't have a laptop right now because it was too loud and the fan was like just going in. So I'm using old-fashioned paper right now if you're watching this on YouTube. And I'm super excited that we are entering the new year with YouTube videos, which is also super dope. Last but not least, on the phase of sharing some good shit, I am officially releasing my Patreon tomorrow! Shake your titties, shake your titties! If you're listening to this, then you'll be able to have access to it tonight because you are amazing and you are ahead of the game. So shout out to you for your early access. I have tiers for all different types of price points that people may want to hit. They're all angel numbers. I have exclusive content that will never see the light of day on this podcast because it is too embarrassing, but I didn't mind putting it on Patreon because it feels like it's just like a kind of a safe kept place, even though the podcast is my safe space 1,000%. But some shit, the general public, I only want my true dedicated love bugs to see. And I'm calling my Patreon The Love Club. Isn't that so cute? Like, put it on merch, The Love Club. I fucking love that shit. I love me. So that's amazing. But I've had some new developments in life, and I really, really, really want to share with y'all some of those developments. Now, the fact that I don't have my laptop here, I was supposed to reference that to share with y'all some of my rules for 2024. But I do remember a lot of them, so I'm just gonna just share those with you, and then we'll just move on from there. The most prominent rule that I have for 2024, by the way, this came about because how did we get into this? Was I just talking about Patreon? What was the transitional point of us talking about this? Anyways, this is going to be an ADHD highlighted episode because we fucking love ourselves as is. But I was going to say, for Patreon, I'm super excited. I'm super grateful to have a safe space for my love bugs at the Love Club. Oh, that's where we ended, at the Love Club. Okay, but it's officially available for y'all to see. I share love notes with y'all, like good morning love notes. If you're single, or even if you're in a relationship and you just miss good morning texts, that's what my love notes are for, to help you just know that you are loved by someone on this world. A lot of my posts are really interactive, so I'll share my experience with, and I'll ask you to share yours, because as much as I love talking to y'all via the podcast, I want to talk with y'all. And Instagram is not always the place where I'm able to concentrate, because it's a mix of business and pleasure. And I feel like on the Patreon, I'll be able to really get to know y'all. So I'm really excited about forming a relationship with my love bugs, because y'all are so sweet. The reviews that y'all leave me on Apple Podcasts, and I don't really know how to check reviews in other places, but yeah, I just love how y'all love me, and I want to give y'all that same exact love back personally. So I'm super excited about that. Now for the new year and 2024 and my rules. I was walking through the streets of New York one day. You know, when you go back to a place where you grew up, you just learn a fucking lot, and you realize that there are certain patterns you either want to break and never fucking do again, or just whatever the case may be. So I came up with this list to say I can never feel like how I feel right now walking through the streets of New York. So how can I stop myself from feeling this way in the future? The first rule of thumb I will say for my rules of 2024 that I remember are, I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. Doesn't that shit sound so liberating? Every time I say it, I feel something in my gut that just feels like a fucking release. And it's not a fart. So that just straight up means I'm not doing anything I don't want to do. If somebody wants to go out and I don't want to, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I haven't been. Oh, well, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. And it's okay for me to question it for myself. Well, okay, do I not feel like it because I'm living out of fear? Or do I not feel like it because I'm just exhausted and I just don't fucking feel like going out? And if it's exhaustion, then yeah, fuck it. But if it's living in fear, then maybe question some more of that. Why am I living in fear? Why am I not doing X, Y, and Z? Why am I not trying something new? So there's that. But yeah, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So that's going to be practice. The next one is, I'm not going back to America unless I'm getting paid for it. So unless someone has literally paid for an all expense paid trip for me to America, or if I'm working a job where they're paying for accommodations, and that's totally different. But even New York, I have places I can stay now, which I'm grateful for, but in New York just drains your fucking pocket. So if I'm not getting paid to be there, I don't want to be there. The next one caused a rift. I didn't expect it to cause a rift. And so I want to talk about creating new rules, creating new boundaries, and then how that can affect friendships and how that can affect relationships, right? So one of my rules is that I'm not speaking on the phone in 2024, right? Of course there are going to be stipulations and rules. Like my aunt, she's 70 years old. Do I expect her to text our entire relationship? No, because we have a relationship where we can call each other on the phone and have a very mutual conversation, and we'll speak for like 2.5 hours, and that's our catch up. And she's a Virgo like me, so we know we have the same communication style. And then we'll talk again in another, like, say 5 months to check in. And I really enjoy those calls. I learn a lot about the family and stuff like that. And I specifically make time, like we schedule out those calls, right? I've never been, ever in my life, I've never been the spontaneous FaceTimer or phone caller. That's why I have like this TikTok trend now. And I guess it kind of it was kind of inspired by like what's currently going on in my life. But it's ironic because the trend is like POV, we're on FaceTime. But like I did it because I'm not on FaceTime. Like I'm very hardly on FaceTime with anybody. Like, so the fact that I'm doing POV or FaceTime, if you want to FaceTime me, go on my TikTok, and it will very much so feel like I'm talking to you via FaceTime. Now maybe we can't have a dialogue, but it will feel like, oh wow, like this is how it would feel if Atiya ever fucking picked up my call on FaceTime. But I've never been the type of girl that just like could pick up a phone call. First of all, I was always in programs and shit when I was younger, right? So if somebody would just call me in the middle of the day, I'm probably in dancing school, I'm probably in acting class. And I think that sometimes when people have the idea that they know is happening in your life, they think that, oh, okay, I can just call her and she'll be available. But I can't think of a time in my life where I was ever just available to be able to pick up a phone. And I was going to say it's a generational thing, but I have people my age that literally like love phone calls. I'm not that type of person. I've also had phone calls where me and my friends, who I've learned that a majority of my friends are neurodivergent just like I am, which makes sense. Like I love that about us. And so like if we both have ADHD, a phone call can be a bit difficult, right? And I expressed this to my friend, but then it made it sound like it was like her problem. And I needed her to understand, no, that's just one bit of the many puzzle pieces as to why I don't like phone calls. Another thing is that I spent a majority of my previous friendship that I no longer nurture telling him that I didn't like phone calls, and then him continuously calling me and saying like, hey, I know you don't like phone calls, but like X, Y, and Z. And that's one of the reasons I told y'all, I don't know if I ever told y'all, but when I moved to Mexico, I wrote out a list of like certain ways that I was showing up in this friendship, certain ways that my friend was showing up in this friendship, and then seeing like, does this really resonate with me now that I'm living out the country and can like see clearly? Or was this like, were we a little bit unhealthy? Like, were there certain things that just didn't honor me and my soul in the friendship, right? And one of those things was the lack of caring about my boundary, or more so just trying to push the boundary just because, and calling me when they just wanted to talk. And then it was on me for answering, right? And then I have a sister-in-law, and she would always call me like, oh, I just called you because I know you hate phone calls, but I know you hate, just as much as you can go to your fucking voice memo and press a button and talk into it, you could have done that for me. So, but then like I have other friendships where, okay, I know my friend likes phone calls, and I like whatever, like anything other than fucking phone calls, but she doesn't like voice notes. And we have voice noted a majority of our friendship, right? So then in my mind, the compromise is then let's text, because that's like not vocal, right? So I'm not having to pick up my phone not every second, but I'm not having to pick up my phone to answer a call if I'm not ready for it. And two, if you don't like voice notes, the compromise is something that we both like. And if you don't like voice notes, then let's do something that we don't mind. We don't mind texting. We might not text as frequently now because we gotta take time out to text. And I know she be driving, I be out in places and shit, so I don't always have the time. But I think that has definitely been like something that I didn't expect to disrupt my friendships, which is really interesting. And I remember that my friend had also said that she wished that I was more accessible, right? And I think that I've had to come to terms, there are just certain things I'm trying to figure out already, right? And so the discussion that we're having now about accessibility is something that I was already trying to figure out, because I have some friends that I wish would reply back faster to me, but I sometimes know that if I'm just in a space where I don't feel like talking to somebody, I don't even have to be depressed. I don't have to be going through it. Sometimes I just don't feel like moving my mouth. Sometimes I don't feel like hearing somebody. Sometimes I don't feel like having to respond. Sometimes I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't. There's an energy that gets shared over the phone. But going back to the whole ADHD thing, my point is that if there's like a lack of concentration on the call, that can be difficult, especially if I already have a thing of not feeling heard. And I remember back in an old friendship that I had that's no longer a thing, I expressed to her, like I explained to her why I didn't like X, Y, and Z. She used to cut me off a lot, and I would explain why I didn't like getting cut off when I would speak. Like, who wants to be cut off when they're sharing a story? And I referenced like my child, like some shit that happened when I was younger, like certain things that made me feel like unheard, right? This is the thing that shows up in my relationships, which is why I'm trying to navigate why I feel this way. And if I can just be content with feeling unheard, like, is that what the consensus is, you know? Or do I nurture friendships where I can feel heard? Do I request that I can feel more heard in these other friendships? Are these people capable of hearing me, you know? And so the friendship that ended, she said, like, well, you know, you keep bringing up your childhood stuff, and I'm not them. This is not them. Like, you have to live in the present, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, right, but I'm explaining to you why I feel a way about this. Although, in reality, a good friend should be able to say, I feel a way about this, and then you're able to just have a healthy conversation about it. And you can navigate through it, but it doesn't have to feel like you're explaining. But I saw a post the other day, and this came up between me and my friend about accessibility, and she said, you know, you keep explaining the same thing over and over again. And I said to her, I'm explaining because I respect you. Because if I didn't respect you, I would just be dismissive of this whole shit. You know what I'm saying? I'd just be like, okay, well, like, I can't be more accessible, so, like, fuck it. Like, what you gonna do about it? Because I've been in a very, like, not dismissive mood, but it's like a take me or leave me kind of thing. Take me, baby, or leave me. If you watch Rent, you know that reference. But a tiger in the cage can never see the sun. But this demon needs her stage. Baby, let's have fun. You are the one I choose. Folks would kill to fill these shoes. You love the life like to know, baby. Yo, if I was confident in my singing, I would have been on Broadway by now. But yeah, I was in a really dismissive space in general as of late. Like, if I'm just not. Like, at this part, this part of my life is called fucking utter peace. And I understand that might not be what's happening in everybody's life, so I have to kind of figure out how to navigate that as well, right? So I said to her that, you know, I explained because I respect you, but then I found this post, and it was about when you're autistic and you feel the need to continuously explain, and then the more you explain, the more misunderstood you are because you're continuously trying to go down deeper in the rabbit hole of explaining. Like, when I was explaining to her why I hate phone calls, I had to start at the fucking origin of when I was like 16 and like had a crush, and my crush was awkward as shit over the phone. I had to have like a long list of shit to talk to him about. He was giving me one word answers, and then like I've hated phone calls regardless, but like that did traumatize me and has stuck out to me, like why I get physically anxious. It's just an anxiety thing, and it's okay, because my other thing is, like, as full-blown adults, right? I don't expect to be able to just call somebody and they pick up. When I even call my parents, they're probably the only people who I feel like I can call and they'll pick up. But even them, I text them and I'd be like, hey, are you available for a phone call right now? Did you know that not everybody does that? Some people just fucking call you. And I've never been jiggy with that shit. Even when I was dating back in the day, there was this guy, he called me on FaceTime one time, and I was like, hold the fuck up. I was fully dressed. I was out. I could have answered the call, but I was like, you didn't make an appointment. So no, it's just about respect of time, honestly. And it's about respect of just my anxiety. It's about a lot of shit. And as perfect and beautiful of a person as I am, if my flaw is that I don't like phone calls, that's okay. But I feel like it's something that people have tried to kind of demonize, and people act like they're okay with it, but they're like, yeah, I know you hate phone calls, so I didn't call you. And I'm like, okay, damn, fuck, shit, goddamn. But that's some shit that people have to get over. And I think that's where, like, not nice comes in at, right? So you meet people where they're at, but you then at the end of the day still stand strong. And I'm still going to be this way, but I will be compassionate towards you because I care about you and I love you. So we'll be able to figure out how this can work out for you. But I know on my end, it working out for me is that this, like, and you know, that I'm not doing phone calls. Now, if it's a dire emergency, you're about to fucking jump off the side of the building, and you know you need me, shit, first of all, don't do that shit to me, because that's a lot of pressure, honestly, and it's happened to me before, and then it made me fucking suicidal. So, you know, there's that. But like, I do want to be able to be there for people, like, if they're in dire need. So I'm like, you know, send me a picture of a piano or like a saxophone, some shit. I keep saying the same emojis though for people, like, when it comes to certain things, so I need to like make sure that I differentiate like what emojis people should send. Okay, send me the big star emoji, not the three twinklies, the big one, if it's like a dire fucking emergency. And the other thing is, if it's an emergency, call 911, call a hotline. Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't fucking want to, although probably 10 seconds ago I probably said I don't mind being that person. Like, I don't want to. I changed my mind in a quick second. Like, I feel like, and I think that this was also probably another rub too in my friendship, is I mentioned like self-soothing, right? Because the other day I was going through it. And I wanted to reach out to her, like I wanted to reach out to my mom, but I knew she was going through it. And I knew that my mom was busy preparing for a jewelry show. So I'm like, okay, so what can I do? So I started actively self-soothing. I started writing. I wrote out the problem. I wrote out the solution. I wrote out what I thought the root cause was. What are my actual values, and like how can I then move better in the next situation? What's bothering me? There was that. The next day when I talked to my therapist, she also gave me some more tools to be able to work through. Why do I now have gas? Like, this is what I'm fucking talking about. Like, no, I was not burping at any point during this, and now, like, I'm gonna call this show Burps. It's so embarrassing. But anyways, I guess everybody burps sometime when you feel like gas has blown sometimes. But my point is that, because I feel like I was on a roll. Oh, with my therapist, she was saying even before you do any of like the writing and stuff, because sometimes you're just not even in a space where you even fucking want to write your shit down, right? Sometimes you're in such a frenzy. She told me to do the 5 senses technique, where I focus on like 5 things that I can see, 5 things that I can smell, 5 things that I can hear, 5 things I can taste, and 5 things I can feel. And I've never tried that all the way. I have tried to be more cognizant of like if I'm clenching my body, like okay, I'm clenching it, okay, let me relax it and stuff like that. But I'm really excited to implement that. So that's just a tidbit for anybody who's going through something like that. But I think that I'm still navigating my communication style, right? So I'm sure that as a friend, it's scary to hear like, oh, I'm not doing phone calls all 2024. And like I said, there's like a plethora of reasons. The other thing is that I am currently the owner of Ethereal by Levatia, my vegan and hair and skincare brand, right? But then I have my sex toy company. And then now I have my Patreon on top of my podcast, on top of YouTube, which I'm still actively uploading content on top of Instagram, which I'm uploading new content for, on top of TikTok. That's a fucking lot. Didn't I just name like 6 things? So does it really seem like I have the idle time to like sit down and be on the phone? And not only that, but then I have to like recuperate. Like after those 6 jobs are done, I have to pour into myself. So it's not to say that I'll never be on the phone with a friend. And I know that probably sounded so scary. So I fully acknowledge that. But I guess the thing is just like I feel like I'm still showing up in my friendships the way I've always showed up in them. The only thing I will say is that I know that I lied to a couple of friends when I first was about to move, and they were sad that I was leaving, and I was like, well, I'm probably gonna be getting better at communication like once I leave. Psych, Juju. Remember when you used to say that, Juju? No. If anything, I probably got worse in other people's eyes, but my life has gotten better. My life has gotten better. I have such a better relationship with myself, and I think it's a beautiful thing if people like to talk on the phone. I really do. But I think that then you have to find your phone talking friends, because I can be the supportive friend who has advice when I have the capacity. I can be the friend that goes on trips with you. I can be the friend where we go out and do excursions. I can be the friend where we get creative and write songs and write music together. I can be the friend that you talk about sex with and you talk about all your fucking sexcapades. But if I can't be that phone call friend, don't I have the right? Don't I have the literal right? And I love freedom. Like, I want to have freedom, and I want my friends to be free. I told y'all that my 3 main close friends are in relationships. So I would never feel like I could just call them and they'd be there and available. 9 times out of 10, their partner's going to be in the background trying to distract them anyway. Because that's usually what happens on my phone calls with my friends when I'm on the phone with them. It's their partner and it's that moment where their partner has to then relay some important information to them that is actually quite irrelevant. Or their partner has to say something to me and then it gets me tight. So there's that aspect as well. But yeah, I think it's okay. I think that now that I'm in this plane of really trying to love myself unconditionally, it's helping me be able to love other people unconditionally. But it's also reframing my idea of what unconditional love looks like and feels like. And I want to be loved freely. I want to be loved freely and deeply. I think right now I'm loved deeply. And I think right now that my friends and my family are trying to like not even allow me, because you can't allow me shit, but like are trying to practice giving me freedom. But I think that it's just life is lifing right now. And especially like my friends and family in America, and I mean my friends and family all over the globe, y'all get grace, because life is fucking some shit up. for a lot of people. So I understand, but yeah, I think that will help me out in 2024. And so to my friends out there, like, I want to communicate and I want to be my best self when I communicate. And I think that sometimes I'm not able to be my best self because I'm like feeling like I have to rush, or I have to like rush to reply or whatever. Like I've practiced not apologizing when it takes me a week to reply, because we're adults and you're probably going to take a week too, you know? Like, that's just how my relationships have been. So I have a friend who's literally actively trying to move out the country right now. I know I'm going to see her in January, so I'm not fretting that I haven't spoken to her since the beginning of December. Like, we're going to see each other. It's okay. I think the other thing is, as a friend, when you do get my time, especially like in person, be present. Like, be present. Do yourself the favor. And I understand that's so difficult. I talked about this in one of my unreleased episodes, but like, distractions. Like, when you live in the States, you have to be very distracted to kind of remain like somewhat partially sane, even though you're not really sane in the States. But I think that a lot of my friends spend a lot of time on their phones when they're around me, talking to their partner, talking to whomever, whatever. You know, some of us own businesses, so I understand there's a business aspect to it that can be a thing, but sometimes I'll just see somebody over there scrolling on Instagram, whatever the case may be, watching videos, I don't know, but I think that can help. So like, when we do text, like, really, let's live in the moment. Let's enjoy that shit. Like, when I do see you, let's live in the moment. Let's enjoy that shit. And I think that can help curb the whole, like, lack of accessibility thing. Which then leads me to Beyonce. Those are not my only rules for 2024, but those are the main ones that I remember that I think are really going to bring me, like, actual, like, real peace. And then the other ones I'll read on my next episode when we're in 2024. And I'll tell y'all how I've been implementing them. But I want to say, when it comes to accessibility in general, right? Like, for everybody, I know, okay, how do I put this modestly? I know that I'm not Beyonce, but is Beyonce accessible? Like, is Beyonce available when she's on tour? Was Beyonce available when she was building her dreams, you know? But I did see this post as well that said, we can't compare ourselves to Beyonce in the fullest sense, right? I know that I say it as a joke. I genuinely actually mean it, but they say like Beyonce doesn't. The post said something like, and maybe I'll find a way. I'll post it on my Patreon, and we'll talk about it. But it said Beyonce doesn't have the same 24 hours as us. Like, stop saying we have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. Like, Beyonce has a whole team. Beyonce has millions of dollars. Beyonce has resources. Beyonce has people supporting her. Beyonce has fans. Like, Beyonce has X, Y, and Z, and I completely agree. I didn't see her movie yet, but I remember I saw a clip of it. And she was talking about how she was going to be unapologetic, and she was like a people pleaser, and she was just going to do things. She doesn't have to prove shit to anyone, right? And it really woke me up to remember, like, Beyonce is a millionaire. So all of the things and all the triumphs and all the amazing, wonderful productions that she's put on is with millionaire money. And like this person said, like, with a platform, with people pushing her, with, you know, it's a lot of shit. So I think that, I know I kind of contradicted myself, but my point is that, like, I don't have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. So I got to work my fucking ass off. And this starting like December, after finally getting out of my rut in November, like I had like a week of really like recuperating, and then had to like continuously pour into people all of November. And then December was the first month where I was like home in Mexico. Took an 8-day vacation, which was fucking amazing, and now I feel like I'm recharged and ready to fucking go, and I'm so proud of myself because I've been working and on a roll since, like, on it. But I've been working hard, and I'm gonna be working even harder. And I think that I give my friends that grace when I know that my friend has like 12 jobs right now, and she's really working her ass off to really just sustain her life. Like, it's not easy living in Atlanta. It's not easy living in New York, and you have to really work your ass off to be able to survive. I give my other friend grace. I give that friend grace with the 12 jobs. I give my other friend grace for owning her own company and not always having the time to talk to me immediately and being available because she might be in a business meeting or whatever the case may be. I give her grace for that. I give my other friend grace for being in a relationship and maybe not being able to talk, or just getting her life fucking together. She's just getting her life together. She's navigating certain things. She's healing. It just is what it is. She's traveling with her boo. Like, giving grace for all of that, because our relationships are no longer what they used to be. But to the core, they're still actually all kind of the same. We're all low-key, like, we're still the same core people. So I think that if I can get that same grace, that'll be really helpful. And I feel like I also need grace to practice my grace. So I give you grace to practice your grace on me, and you give me grace to practice my grace on you. And we'll work it out like that. So I think that that'll be super helpful with my friendships. And then moving forward, I'm still a observing my communication style. But for newer friendships, I'm trying to figure out, do I want to warn them in the beginning that like, okay, I'm not that quick of a replier. You know what I'm saying? It's just something about my mind that just, I'll see 5 texts and be like, I'm actually, that's not going to reply to any of them. How about that? You know, or I have DMs that I just now answered from like 6 months ago, you know? So I'm catching up, honestly. But I think that so many people have so many meaningless interactions that interactions don't always drain them the way that they drain me, because I feel like I try so hard to be present and proud of myself after every interaction. And I don't think that that's necessarily the intention that everybody has. I think people are just interacting. I don't think everybody's that cerebral about it, and I am, because I'm beautiful Atiya. So just learning to love myself in that aspect, hoping that everybody can do the same, and if not, it's okay. But just, it's okay meaning like we can't be friends. But that's more so for newer friendships, because like I said, older friendships, we're just adjusting. There's just that adjustment period. And I also think that, you know, it's like when I was living in Atlanta and I had my friends in New York, for whatever reason, for them, it didn't feel like it was that crazy that I was living in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And when I was in New York and my Atlanta friends missed me, I didn't live in New York when I had Atlanta friends, but my point is that, like, when I moved to Mexico, that's where everybody started, like, needing me and wanting me and, like, wanting all this stuff. And I'm like, but what about when I was living in Atlanta? Like, why are none of these requirements, like, were happening back when I lived in Atlanta? But also, I understand people evolve. People's needs change depending on what's happening in their lives. So it's just interesting. But there was just always just this big panic. Even when I was about to move to Atlanta, like, there was this big panic about me fucking moving. So anyways, that's a rabbit hole I don't have to go down. Speaking of rabbit holes, this part of the show is called What the Fuck? Okay. Featuring me, Love Atiya. And that's actually the name of one of the shows that I have on Patreon too. Like, I have like little segments. Oh my God. So one of the things that I do on Patreon is I literally have been reading like old messages that I've sent to exes and fucking people I've fucked with, friends with benefits, like old lovers, people from 2014. Oh my God. It's so embarrassing. So that has unlocked a lot of stuff for me, but ironically, it's actually made me so utterly proud of myself, y'all. Like, seriously, I'm so freaking proud of myself, because what I didn't realize was, yes, okay, so I was sending people 12 paragraphs. What's the problem? That gives Michael Jackson energy, like, oh no, they made it up. It's not true. Like, that's what it was giving, like, yeah, I wrote 12 paragraphs. Did it kill anybody? No. That's what we just talked about on my podcast with Nadine. She was like, but did they die? And I was like, no, they actually didn't. Like, so all is well. But I think that what it taught me about myself is that I'm eloquent as shit. And I need to write a book. I'm in the process of writing a book now, writing 2 now. But I need to write a book because I have a lot to say and I have a lot to type out. And apparently, it doesn't always have to be sent to somebody, so that's very helpful. But yeah, like, I know that the majority of my letters fell on deaf ears, so why not like find a way to share them with somebody else? So that's why I have it on my Patreon. But literally every month I'll read one of my letters and one of my notes and then tell y'all like the backstory about like why I said what I said or whatever, this just how I feel about it now. A lot of them are cringe, and I do want to inspire you to comment your cringe stories under these Patreon posts, please. Again, this is a safe fucking space, and if anybody doesn't make it a safe space, we're gonna have to find a problem. So yeah, it's been really, really reflective, but it's also been like a little triggering, right? Not as triggering as I thought it was gonna be, but it has been a little triggering. And the reason why it's been triggering is because I've seen a lot of texts to my ex, and there are so many times where it just seems like I have this sense of like self-doubt, right? And so it's really made me become more aware of future dating styles. I'm trying to figure out if I want to talk about future dating styles first or my rabbit hole first. I guess I'll talk about my rabbit hole first, and then we're going to go into like me possibly entering the dating field again. AKA just opening my heart back up because this shit was locked down, cold, frozen. Ain't nobody fucking getting out. Ain't no feeling. Ain't no shit over here. Okay. So the rabbit hole is that social media has been very fucking triggering lately. And I know that there are blogs that are pop culture blogs, right? So there's a blog that I was about to listen to earlier, and they started talking about the same situation that everybody else has been talking about with the same takes, and it's just like, we get it, right? So, trigger warning, this is going to be a conversation, a quick one about Keke Palmer and Cassie, and then also that Baltimore mayor, I wish I remembered her name, Sonia Dixon. Is that it? Sonia? I think I know her last name is Dixon. And ironically, why is she Juan Dixon's aunt from fucking Real Housewives of Potomac? I'm like, out of all, and then it makes sense because Baltimore, Potomac. So, anyways, so referring to Mayor Dixon, she's the former the former mayor of Baltimore, and she was filmed on Fox News the other day, and you see her, like, her, first of all, her voice was completely gone, and to me that's always a red flag. Now, I've read in some of the comments that they were like, that can be a sign of strangulation. In my mind, it was a sign that she screamed so much at a certain point to where she lost her voice. And the news anchor that was interviewing her was like, oh yes, I see you're struggling with the cold that's going around. I'm like, I've never had a fucking common cold and lost my voice before. I've lost my voice from screaming. And I'm trying to think, like, when I got choked, if I lost any type of my voice, but I just lost my sanity, so I can't really tell you. I was really dissociating past that point. But that was really sad to me, really triggering. And then you see her eyes kind of shift over, and then out of nowhere, you see shit just, like, flying at the screen. And, like shit, like, major shit. And then at one point, her camera drops, and she's still trying to talk through the interview, and there's literally somebody in the back. Because at one point, somebody said something about, the anchor said something about police. And on, like, because they were talking about the safety of Baltimore, ironically. And then the mayor said something about, yes, we really need to double down with police, this, that, and there, blah, 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 or whatever. I don't want to misquote her, but she said the word police too. And then the person in the background was like, oh, you call police now? This, that, and they're going in. And yeah, it was crazy. And then some people were saying, oh, maybe it's her autistic child. Does she have an autistic child? Like, did people just make that up? Or they're like, oh, maybe she has, like, a developmentally challenged child. And I was like, well, where are y'all getting this from? Like, this is that, what the fuck? And then other people were saying that was her partner. Like, that was her fucking abusive partner who was, like, literally throwing shit at her. And, like, the terror in her eyes, they said she was, like, blinking a lot. Like, in my mind, as a news anchor, you just don't end calls like that. Like, at one point, the news anchor was like, oh, yeah, there's some feedback going on. Can you repeat that? And I'm like, feedback? People were also saying that maybe she couldn't see what was going on the screen, because when you're a news anchor, apparently you don't always see, like, on the screen. But in my mind, it's 2023. I don't even know what year it is, like 20,000. I don't know, but it's 2023, so you can't see somebody when you're doing a news anchor with them, which I wouldn't be surprised. But, like, y'all got AI and shit, so you can't even do that. I felt myself getting worked up, but my point is, feel free to take a breath if you were getting worked up too. Yeah, it was fucked up, and it just felt like there was no advocacy for her. It felt like there was not a safe space for her. And then there was a point where she says, you know, this is a certain point in time in the holidays where certain family members, friends, relationships, you know, people in the neighborhood, you know, your spouse, you know, don't always know how to handle certain emotions. And so it's a really rough time for everyone. And I was like, is that not a sign? Is that not a cry for help, but also slightly making an excuse for the behavior that's literally exhibiting in front of us? And I think that's one of the problems with abuse in general. It's like no one knows how to handle it when it's witnessed. Like, because when it's witnessed, then you start realizing this shit is fucked up. Like, when my boyfriend was driving my car and I was trying to get out of the car because it was an unsafe situation, and I literally opened the door and then he didn't stop driving, and I literally, like, or maybe he stopped driving and then I had my foot out the car and then he started driving. I'm like, but I really opened the car door while he's driving? I might have, the argument was that bad. I had to get out. It was berating. And then these garbage guys, the guys in the garbage truck were like, Miss, are you okay? I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. Like, when you're abused behind the scenes, you don't have to necessarily face the shame because you're in it constantly. So that's all you're focused on. But then when you realize somebody else is seeing your reality, that shit is embarrassing. It feels shameful. It feels degrading. It's like, wow, people are witnessing me getting treated like this. Like, it's really bad. So there's that. But then I also know that there are times where, you know, you can say something to somebody And, I remember there was a time where I was with somebody and there was a woman that was fighting with her man. And I said, like, are you gonna like break that up or whatever? I was not that much grown, I'll say. And I remember being told, like, sometimes you go to break something up and then you end up getting your ass beat by both of them, by the woman who was getting abused and by the man, or the man attacks you or whatever. That's literally happened several times in so many relationships that I know. You go to defend somebody and then the person you defended ends up attacking you. And you're like, what the fuck, bitch? I'm fucking trying to help you out. It's a sick psychosis. So I think that, it's just very sad to watch, and there's no perfect thing to do because every situation is different. But I just wish, like, even back in the day when my neighbors used to hear us screaming at the top of our lungs at all hours of the night and day, every day. I wish that they would have helped, but at the same time, like, what could they have fucking done? Like, call the police, probably. Honestly, it's probably the best thing they could have done. But otherwise, yeah, I want to talk about that. Like, maybe we can have an episode where we talk about, like, how to fucking advocate for ourselves and how to advocate for others. So I remember there was another time I was going to Bar Taco in Georgia, and there was a woman, she had her kid, and this guy was berating her. I think I might have shared this before. He was berating her and like going in, yelling at her while she has a child. And I'm looking around and no one's doing shit. So I literally was like, sis, are you okay? And then she was like, I'm just trying to get my baby to the car. And then he was like, she's good. And then she said something and like kept actively like walking towards the car. And then I looked at another couple and they were like, what did she say? And I was like, she said she's just trying to get her baby to the car, whatever the case may be. So I stood there and watched her like make it to the car, like put the baby in the car. And then he started walking back to the restaurant, right? Why did he then go and sit with two older ladies? Like, he was there with two other women. So you fucking know. And God, there's some shit I want to say, and I don't want this to impact my body for keeping it inside, but I know I can't say it. Anyways, I say all that to say that was really triggering, and I had to do a lot of work surrounding, like, once again, just like what to do when you're in a situation like that. So yeah, I just wish that there was more advocacy. Now for Keke Palmer, that is my Virgo sister. We literally have the same birthday, so it is extra fucking triggering when I feel like I'm rewatching my experience on social media. And I don't want to scroll past the posts because I want to be able to, I don't even know what it might even be morbid curiosity, to be honest with you. But some recent text came up where she was talking to her abuser and she sent these texts apologizing. Now he allegedly wants to have a restraining order against her. He is the epitome of a sociopath. As much as we talk about narcissists, we have not had enough discussions about sociopaths. She created a restraining order against him first. There was a custody battle against their son, and she initiated that first. Now that some time has died down, he's released audio of her mother defending her and protecting her. That audio that was chopped and fucking screwed. He then gets a restraining order against her and releases all of these emails from 2021 of ways that she reached out to him multiple times via email. My thing is, men will literally, specifically sociopaths, will literally break you down so bad to the point where you literally go insane. You literally lose your mind. And then you have reactive abuse, which we talked about in the very last fucking episode, ironically. That's been coming up a lot now in my life now that I've talked about it. Just me being able to see that, right? And go back to that episode if you haven't listened to it, because reactive abuse is very interesting, and it's also just known as self-fucking defense, right? But there's also a point in abuse where you become your abuser, right? I fully remembered when I jumped on my ex-boyfriend trying to get his phone, because they used their phones as weapons, right? So it escalated. I didn't just walk into the room and jump on him because like I fucking wanted his phone. Like, no, it escalated. I knew that he was cheating on me. He was literally lying to my face about it. I had asked for the phone respectfully several different times. Is it okay to go through your partner's phone? No. So I'm never making an excuse. At this point, I was insane. There's no excuse for that. I literally lost my mind. So somehow I ended up hanging off the bed, right? Like fucking Mufasa in The Lion King. And I think I was holding on to his shirt, like, so that I didn't fall and, like, just bust my head. And I remember he pulled back and clocked me in the jaw. He gaslit me so bad as my jaw was literally ringing, was probably swollen, because it was a cockback, right? It wasn't no fucking, there's no other kind of punch, honestly, but it was a cockback with, like, brute force. And like I said, my shit was ringing for a very long time. And I remember just, like, holding my face and looking at him in, like, such shock, and then running to the bathroom and hiding in the bathroom for a couple of hours. I remember being in the bathroom specifically. This Negro literally convinced me that he didn't punch me in the face. He literally was like, I was trying to help you not fall. By putting your fist on my jaw? How is that? How? And then it's like, well, you jumped on me. So now I'm the abuser because I jumped on you, you punched me in the face, you're cheating on me, you're disrespecting our household, all of this stuff, but I'm the abuser. And that's called reactive abuse. And that instance happened way later in our relationship, after having my hair pulled, after being choked, after being restrained, after having his forearm up on my neck when I'm trying to leave out the door to take some space. The jumping happened after all of that, after being spit on, all of this shit. So, yeah, we're gonna get fucking drunk. Yeah, she got drunk and sent those texts apologizing, because then you've been so fucking manipulated. Realize how in those texts he didn't show any of his responses. None of his responses. They keep shit like that to be able to weaponize you, so that when you call them out on their abuse, or they keep it so that when you call them out on their abuse, they can make you look crazy, or they keep it so that they can cover it over your head. So if you know that they have, like, ways of you looking crazy, and you might not have evidence of them looking crazy, or whatever the case may be, they always will keep that over your head, so you'll never come out about your abuse. Oh, child. And I know I was talking about getting back into the dating game, but this too fucking much. Like, seek help, my guy. Everybody fucking seek help. Like, then when you're a sociopath, it's so sick, because you get into people's minds. It's literally a mind game. And I have this conspiracy theory that sociopaths specifically take psychology in school. My ex used to tell me he wanted to take psychology so that he knew how people's minds work. Basically, so he could fucking manipulate their minds. Literally, that was his goal for going to school, so that he could, like, manipulate people, because he knows how their minds work. Why was I told that in 2017 and still proceeded to date him in 2018 is the question. But, you know, we're going to give ourselves some grace, because apparently there were lessons that needed to be learned. In regards to Cassie, everybody always says, why has she not come out sooner? Why are you asking that? Why? If somebody asks me that shit about not coming out about my abuse story sooner, you can kiss my whole black fucking ass, because it's not anybody's. It's like, why haven't I come out about my sexual assault story sooner? It takes a lot of fucking work. You could be re-triggered. You could possibly be suicidal or have suicidal ideations over some of the fucking trauma that has happened to me, which is why that happened to you. See, I'm fucking projecting, because that was me. Like, I still very much so struggle and feel it internally when I talk about some of my sexual assaults. I still very much so question myself when I'm talking about my sexual assaults. Is why I know I just need to do more work and feel more comfortable in my own skin and in my own healing before I express myself, because people place such fucking doubt into your head. They play such fucking mind games. They threaten you. After all of these stories, after she writes a 32-page, I forgot what it's called. I did it for my sexual assault. It starts with a D. Not a dissertation, but it's right on the tip of my head. Oh God, please. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The thing that you have to write to the police, or in a lawsuit, or whatever the case may be. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, she wrote out all that, all of the threats, all of the bodily harm he's done to her, etc., etc. Like, I'm fucking scared of that man, and I haven't even been around him. So of course she'd be terrified to come out with this information. Yes, even after she's in another relationship. Yes, even after she's had a child. Because trauma and healing is not linear. And that shit looks different for everybody. So I would just wish that we could give so many people grace. It's like they're trying so hard, especially men in the comments. And I know these are blog sites, so you can only take it for what it's worth. But, like, I mean, you can take the comments what they're worth, because people are fucking ignorant. But people want Keke and Cassie to be the bad people so bad. it's like, God forbid we call out this abuser. Even for the Baltimore mayor, it's like, oh, what if it was her autistic son? Does that give him the right to literally abuse her just because of his neurodivergence? It's not fair. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to him. There are tools, there are programs, there's things out there for people who experience these things. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that you are allowed to be abused. So it's very difficult. You know, I've watched friends in very traumatic situations. I've had to tell some friends in the past, like, I can't hear this story anymore about this guy because I can't, like, watch you be in this. Like, I can't know that you are continuously going back to this abuse. Like, I can't witness it anymore. It's caused wedges in my previous friendships. And you know, there are even certain communication styles that I've seen in other friendships that I don't necessarily feel are the healthiest, but is it my place to say, oh, this looks abusive? No, it's not. Like, it's literally not. A part of me says, yes, as a friend it is, but a part of me says that when you are in it, you already fucking know. I remember I had a discussion with my friend one time about her partner, and everything that I had told her, like, I listed in like my notes, like everything that I just felt like wasn't healthy between me and her partner, and then wasn't healthy between things I had just observed with her partner. And she was like, no, I completely agree. Like, I've talked to my partner about this. Like, I've said X, Y, and Z about this. And it's so interesting now because I wonder how many people are going to listen to this and think, like, was she talking about me? And I think that's always a sign too, right? Like, when people talk about abuse and then you're like, is she talking about me? It's like, well, are you in an abusive situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have to question it, then you are. That's literally what my mom told me when I tell y'all this story all the time. When I walked downstairs, she walked me to my car after me and my ex had gotten into a huge fight, one of the worst. And I said, like, you know, mommy, how do you know, like, when you're in an abusive relationship? And she was like, if you have to ask the question, then you already know the answer. And I was like, you're right as shit. You're right as fuck. You're fucking right. Hell of right. So, you know, it just makes me sad because the one thing about my abuse that I recognized was that it didn't matter what anybody told me. I literally know that I was insane because I found a letter where I wrote to my mom, like, kind of in my mind I think I was going off on her. I didn't even read the letter, so I can't even let y'all know because I didn't want to be triggered by it. But I know that there was a time when me and my mom did have like a moment where we stopped communicating for, I'll say, like a week, because she told me that I was losing myself and I went off on her. You know why? Because she was right. And I was very triggered because she hit the button that I already had deep down inside in my mind. I didn't even know that I lost myself, to be honest with you. I didn't even know if I had ever found myself. But, I mean, like, back in the day, I didn't even know if I ever knew who I was. But then when she said it, it clicked. And I can still hear her saying that to me. And she was just, there comes a point in the time when, like, when you're friends with somebody who's in a relationship, or you're somebody you care about is in an abusive relationship, and it's like, you don't even want to witness it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And then it gets worse. It's like, I don't know what's worse, when they share the stories with you or when they don't. Because when they don't share the stories with you, that's when you fucking know it's bad. When I stopped sharing with people, like, what we went through, no one fucking knew at all, like, at all, what the fuck we were going through after a certain period of time, because it was that bad. And then sometimes it'd be so bad that I'd have to tell people, like, so my point is that the fact that I went against my mom makes me, like, nervous when it comes to, like, talking to my friends about these kind of things, because it's like, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's interesting. And this is not me putting anybody's business out there. I have a lot of friends, like, outside of, like, just my close friends, so just know that, like, this can apply to a lot of people. And also, unfortunately, and also, I'm referencing previous friendships as well, so I don't want anybody to feel like, oh my god, like, is she fucking talking about me? But like I said, this applies to so many people, because I don't think that there are a lot of there's not a lot of tools out there for people to navigate healthy relationships. Like, it's just not, like, it really isn't. On my episode with Nadine that's coming up from the Sober Butterfly podcast, she talks about some beautiful, like, experiences that she had in her sober relationship versus, like, not, versus being in relationships that weren't sober. And I asked, like, if she had any good references or any good and the people that she admired that were in relationships that were healthy and sober. And so the same goes for, like, just general relationships. Like, I can't necessarily think of a relationship that has the blueprint to where I say, like, oh yeah, I love it, because every relationship that I've put on a pedestal has definitely I think it was a spider on my back, but every relationship that I put on a pedestal has definitely turned into something else once I learned what like the ins and outs of it was. We're all human, right? So like we're gonna be a little fucked up in general, but I think that there are just certain things that certain people tolerate. I remember on Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, this new one that came out, this girl was like, "You're all divorced and I'm the only one that's still married here." Yeah, because you chose to stay with your cheating ass husband who was on Ashley Madison. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we all have different standards, sis. So I think that one of the things that scares people when it comes to wanting to leave a relationship also, and amongst the threats and stuff like that, right? Diddy also had his whole hand in Cassie's career at one point. So like her livelihood was at risk. That can be the case for a lot of people in relationships. Whether you're financially supporting your partner, they're financially supporting you, or y'all are both tandemly sharing finances, it's all messy. But I think the other thing is, damn, what was the other thing I was gonna say about leaving? No, I low-key want to rewind it because I went down a rabbit hole about finances and leaving. I remember. It's not, I don't want to project this onto anybody out there, but I think that for me, one of the reasons why I didn't leave my relationship sooner was that I was so scared of somebody else having him, which sounds crazy, right? I was so scared of somebody else having my abuser, like mine, like, because there was this possession aspect of our relationship that just was not healthy. But I didn't want to imagine him having sex with someone else. Was our sex amazing? Nah. I mean, I had some pretty cool times, I guess, but honestly, it's kind of scary how much I don't remember our sex. To be in a relationship with somebody for almost 3 years and then not be able to remember a lot of instances where y'all had sex. Granted, we didn't have a lot of, like, we didn't have as much sex as you'd think a couple in their 20s that are in a relationship for multiple years have had, but like, wow, that's probably something I should talk to my therapist about, because it's crazy, like, why I can't remember the sex. I dissociated a lot through it. I was high and drunk through a lot of it. And then we were abusive, so there was no really enjoying the moment, because right after that we probably get into a fight, or maybe had a fight before that or whatever. So I think that the concept of thinking your partner can possibly have somebody else is scary to some people. I think that the idea of being alone can be really scary to some people. I think that I'm in a space now where I love being alone. I love my alone time. I love being by myself. I love taking myself out on dates. I haven't actually done that in a really long time. I don't know if I've done that since I moved to Mexico. Like a date, like getting cute and dressed up and stuff and taking myself out. I'm gonna do that though. I'm gonna do that this week. And I'll document it. But yeah, like I know that there is like a fear of being alone. You know what I'm saying? I was having a conversation with my friend one time, and she was like, yeah, I don't tell anybody to leave their partner because like I'm not gonna cuddle with you at night, you know? And I was thinking like, wow, yeah, that is a thing. Like that is definitely a thing of, you know, you leave your partner and then what? But then what is, then you love yourself. Then you start your journey of loving yourself, and you start by leaving your partner. But it's hard. It's so much easier said than done. I told y'all, I posted something on Facebook the other day. Not the other day. Maybe like 2015, 2014. And was like, you know, this is just a message to anyone who's in an abusive relationship. Like, you have permission to leave. Like, you know, please, like, get out. And I got bombarded from 2 people specifically. One of them never fucking apologized, but it's cool. It is what it is. You know people for who they are. But I got bombarded like, it's not that easy to leave, blah, 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 like going in. And like, I didn't never said that in the post. Like, I was never like, get out, it's easy, go, do it. But I think that this was around the time that I was friends with my other friend who was in an abusive relationship, and I wanted her to see it, and like, I just needed her to know that like, you can go, like, you had permission. Like, if anybody needed permission, because some people, I think, just have this voice in their head, like, they don't, like, they have family who wants to see these people together, or they have these other things in their mind. Granted, I'm not the person, I don't have to give anybody permission, like, I'm not God, you know what I'm saying? But I just felt like, in my mind at the time, that sounded like it was a good idea to post, right? But I realized that it's not easy to just leave. Like, it isn't. It really isn't. And even after I kicked my ex out, there were still so many logistical things. Like, I didn't care that he didn't have a place. Well, he did have a place to go. And that was to his friend's house, the friend that was constantly disrespecting me and said that she wanted to off me. So there was that, you know. And then where his other friend was staying, so he was able to stay there and sleep in the bed with her as you were doing the entire time that we were together, or sleep on the couch. I really couldn't care less because you choked me out just now. So you can't stay in my house and you're not paying rent. Even if you were paying rent and you choked me out, it's just a lot. One of the greatest things that I would say that I'm so grateful for is that we never signed a lease together, and that was very fucking helpful, because otherwise I would have felt very tied to him and we would have been living in a space. We were going to try to look for a 2-bedroom apartment, but we couldn't afford it. Who the fuck were we kidding? So there was that. My overall point is just, I feel like we are not displaying a lot of grace for women in general. We're not displaying grace for Keke Palmer, for Cassie, for the Mayor Dixon, and for our friends. I just feel like we need to give a lot of just women and men who are in abusive situations grace and time to figure it out. Because one thing that I really appreciated was the people in my life who gave me time to figure it out. I'm sure that my actions projected onto them in ways that were unhealthy, and I'm sure it was really hard for my mom to watch, like, the shell of her daughter. Like, I look back at old pictures and videos, I'm like, why did I dress like that? Like, why did I look like that? And then I remember the days where he would tell me, like, don't wear that. And I'm like, I should have just been like, fuck you. Like, but instead, no should-haves. But in the future, if somebody was to tell me that, it would be a fuck you. You're not going to tell me what to wear. I don't give a fuck about, respect your partner. No, in that aspect, you're not respecting me by trying to control me and what I wear. If I was wearing crop tops when I met you, why can't I wear crop tops when I'm in this relationship? So, but I would never be this way if I hadn't gone through what I went through, I believe. So, that's what we're trying to work through. But it's just really triggering for me, and it's triggering in a way that it's helping me just recollect on some other things that I've been through, some things I probably stashed down. I have CPTSD, which means that you've been through a prolonged period of trauma. So I'm sure it's triggered that to an extent. So I did have to scroll past one of, like, the Keke Palmer posts with the text. One, because they were just so defamatory. Like, I just already knew what it was. Like, I already knew it was just straight up gaslighting and manipulation on his behalf and just sociopathic behavior. And that was really triggering because I've been there, done that. So I'm sending prayers to everybody. I'm so proud of everybody for coming out against their abusers, because that's not easy either. Like, I've never said my boyfriend's name on here. If you know him, you know, or my ex, but I think that even Cassie, like, it snowballed, right, into something, like, really beautiful in the way of she inspired so many other people to come out. Even if it wasn't about Diddy, it was about, like, their abuse in general, their sexual assaults. And that's what happens, and that's why predators don't want you to come out, because you inspire other people. The same for abuse. If somebody said, I'm in a domestically abusive relationship, like Keke Palmer, that's when Dominique came out, Keke Palmer's baby daddy's brother's mother of his child, and she came out about her abuse. Now, she had been come out about it, but no one listened to her because people are fucked up. So, but I think that it just gives people courage, and that's why abusers and predators don't want you to come out and speak out about their shit, because they know that that it will start a snowball effect, and their other victims will come up, or just it'll just start a whole thing. Now they took my Jeffrey Epstein again. It's just a lot. So I just wanted to share that because it was heavy on my chest, and I feel like I couldn't go through 2023 without talking about it. I didn't want to be like a pop culture podcast. I tried to talk about some pop culture shit once before. I tried to talk about, what's that girl's name? Wow, I'm sorry I forgot her name. But the girl that lied about being kidnapped, like, I talked about her and I was so passionate, and then, like, it ended up being a hoax. So a lot of this stuff I feel like is put out there to just, like, be a distraction. But there are other situations where I feel like people are genuinely going through trauma, and it's out there for the world to see, and it's a lot to process. So I just want to work through it with y'all and talk to y'all about it, and we'll just figure out ways to make it through. If I'm feeling like I'm triggered, I'm gonna leave the site. I'm not gonna keep putting the information in my head. I can always go back later, just out of respect for the victim or whatever the case may be. That's what I expect people to do here. Like, if you get triggered, leave, come back. Like, I don't ever want to. That's why I don't share certain things, and I realize that I can't be responsible for other people's feelings. So once we take our responsibility of our own feelings, I feel like that's helpful, because then, sorry, if you see me like rubbing my nose on YouTube, it's because I have a cat and her hair just gets on my face sometimes. But I think that the more we can take responsibility for our own feelings, the more power we can have, and the less responsible we'll feel for other people's feelings. It's not right to just be an asshole because you don't care about anybody's feelings, but I think that over caring can be detrimental. So there's that. I just wanted to share that. So thank y'all so much for listening. I know you got another bit of insight about my relationship and just about all these things, but I just wanted to share my thoughts. And again, sending this love to everybody who's going through something, whether it's a celebrity or whether it's just common folk like us, aka bad bitches. But now I want to talk about healthy dating and my views on it, because I was thinking to myself earlier, like, dating with the TT. Just so you know, we changed the subject. But I realized I loved life when it was like hella fun, right? Like when there was no major awareness that I could probably really like die doing X, Y, and Z, right? Like I went to Morgan State one time and ended up going to see a friend that I had met on a college tour. We had only hung out. Was this before or after the Florida trip? It had to have been before. Because I went to Florida with her and she ended up being a hater. I hate when you become friends with somebody and then it all is well, and then the more they get to know you, the more they become a hater. What the fuck is that about? That's why I fucking used to mask, that y'all don't know the real me, so now you can never hate on nothing. And even then when I would mask, they would still be mad. I'm like, yeah, what if you really saw the real me? Then you would really be fucked up. But anyways, I realized that when I went to Morgan State, it was a lot. Like we ended up going to this like fucking abandoned skating rink at one point. That was like, people were skating in there, but like I don't think it was fully operational. If this were homecoming, and then we went to another party, I think, or the party was in the skating rink. I don't fucking know. It was a lot. It was like a fire hazard, and then we couldn't all stay at her dorm, so we ended up staying in a motel. I'm like, yo, I cannot believe that I had this experience. Then I think about it, like, this is such a, I wish this in the back of my mind. When did this happen? Like 2012? I blocked out a lot of shit from 2012 because it was just like back to back to back to back to back stuff. I don't remember shit from 2013. I wonder if this happened in 2013. I don't remember shit. But anyways, yeah, I ended up going to a motel and then cuddling with this guy. Oh my, I don't even remember his name. That's so crazy. If I saw him, I would probably recognize him, but I was cuddling with him. And then it's like the first night I was in a dress. Like we were laying on top of the sheets because like we didn't trust, granted a bed bug can climb on top of sheets, but we didn't trust the sheets. We were like, we just lay here. It was I think we had to like low-key sneak in because I don't think it was supposed to be that many of us in one room. But I'm like, why did we not have accommodations before this? And then we do another night, like a second night. But why do I feel like this night, like I was on my period or something like that? I don't know. But long story short, like just putting myself in situations that could have ended up potentially being dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like the time that I went to fucking PCB, Panama City Beach, and ended up in a random car that my friend said was our Uber and then wasn't. And then we had to get out and could have died. Like there's just so many instances of ignorance where we just were not making responsible decisions. So I think that I missed that part of my life because now I watch so much like Dateline and Netflix. Oh my God, yo, does Netflix hate women? Because the way that y'all be just putting these murder documentaries on back to back, like shit, give us a break. But had me so paranoid. I just heard about this case where there's this like, it's not even a couple, but there's these two people. They met on Bumble. They met on Bumble, or they met on a dating app. They met on some dating app. And he ended up being a murderer and was like literally an actual part of a whole crime. And that's obviously not the first situation that's happened like that. Like you meet somebody on a dating app and then they end up being a murderer. But it's like, he didn't even murder her. Like he murdered someone else. But it's like, you never fucking know who you're gonna meet. So the fact that I was on all these apps, the fact that I have a whole stalker now who literally just the notification posted on my fucking TikTok like, hey, so and so is on TikTok now. I literally blocked him immediately, and it's so fucked up because I have to stop thinking about people, because the other day I was literally thinking like, wow, this is around the time like where he would rear his head. Like it's been, I don't want to say it's been too long, but I know that he had like reached out in April. So I wouldn't be surprised like that he showed back up again now that it's about to be the end of the year, because it's like a 2-time thing kind of a 2 things a year kind of thing. It's crazy. But I met him on a dating app. He's the reason why I don't use Bumble anymore. So, you know, even when I look at my block list and I see how many people I have blocked that are from dating apps, like, it's just so fucked up. Like, it's just, they're just, some people go on there and they're sociopaths and they want to just act like there's somebody totally different that they're not. So I think that that's probably why, like, I have a lot of fear when it came to dating. On top, and I talk about this in my episode with Nadine of the Sober Butterfly podcast, which will be featured on this channel. But I spoke to her about, like, feeling like I might be kind of ready to date, but not having enough self-trust to believe that I won't fall back into old patterns. And I talk about this on Patreon too, where I feel like I almost have this fear that when I looked at my old relationship, right, when I look back at the messages, and I think like, wow, I used to think that I was a problem in the relationship. Like, I was convinced that I was like, maybe not the problem, but definitely like a higher problem than what, when I'm looking at these messages, shows. Like, these messages show I was so compassionate. I was writing him love letters in the morning, like, hey, these are 5 things that I would love for you to do to help you get out of your depression today. Like, I want you to remember that I always love you and I think that you're so amazing, and like these are the reasons why I think you're amazing, and know that you are better than your depression, and I'm so proud of you for making it through and surviving. Like, I literally went in. I wrote him another note, you know, very eloquent, because it was in February when we were about to break up. So I know that, like, I had been through the ringer, yet still I was acting with such grace and with such kindness and with such care for him. Even after he had degraded me so badly, I was still so compassionate for him. And I read these letters on Patreon, but I think that helped relieve some of my fear in the aspect of, damn, am I a fucked up girlfriend? You know what I'm saying? And even like my mom, I told y'all, I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but was reading poems one time that she had written to another lover. And I was like, wow, my mom is such a beautiful lover. Like, she loves so purely, you know, she loves so freely. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness. But now, you know, we're both in a space of just like finding ourselves. And I think recreating like what we want our lives to be now that we live out of the country. And so I think that conversations that I've had with like Nigel, who's also going to be on this podcast on this upcoming year, I'm telling y'all, I got some bomb ass fucking guests. Like, I really am so proud of my guests. But Nigel is coming on here, and he speaks so highly about Black love and about relationships and about just being so open to loving someone and being loved unconditionally. And that like made my heart open and made me feel so inspired after the call. Like, why have I shut myself out from love? And I know why. You know, I also tell myself I'm only 3 years out of my relationship, really. 3 years out of my relationship. I don't even know what the math is with my sexual assaults, but like, yeah, like my healing is still so fresh. People might say, oh, damn, girl, 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. And I'm still actively healing from all of the immense amounts of trauma that I experienced in my relationship. I talked to Alex, the gross demon, Alex Monroe, and they shared how their new relationship that they're in has helped trigger them in a beautiful way to see like all the things that were regressed that now have to come up and be healed. Like, and Nadine said, you don't know until you're like in it, you know? And it's so true. Like, you get to prove how proud you are of yourself once you're in your relationship. You get to really see how much you've grown. And I can make all the assumptions in the world of the way that I would react to certain things, but maybe I fucking will be a great ass, like, fucking in a healthy space. Same way I went to New York with my stepmom and stepsister and my step-grandma and my dad, and had like one of the best fucking times I've ever had. And I was so scared going into it. I was so scared. I thought that my sister didn't even like me as a person anymore. And now we're texting each other, giving each other updates, saying we want to take trips. Like, oh, how life has changed now that I've done the work and now that I'm in such a healthier space. So just knowing that I'm in this arena of life makes me feel really excited about the potential aspect of dating someone new in the future. And I also think that the fact that this is the most content I have ever been in my whole entire life of my dating history. And also, I would just like to note that this is the first year that my dad and I's relationship has been so consistently healthy, right? Like so consistently healthy from January to this upcoming January, or I'll just say till December now. So I say all that to say that this is also the first year that I have not been like thotting and bopping and trying to find someone to love me so deeply. And you know, that's my own story. So again, like, I don't even know if I iterated that the way that I wanted to say it, but basically this is the first year that I haven't been a hoe, and this is the first year that me and my dad have been together in a healthy relationship consistently. So I just think that says something. Like, and it's not to give people who don't have good relationship with their fathers like a lack of hope, to say like, oh, if you don't have a good relationship, you'll never find like true love, you'll never find a healthy love. No, not at all. I think that my relationship with my uncle, and how he became another father figure for me was really helpful during the time that me and my dad were having our issues. You know, I have cousins that I used to confide in a lot, you know, before they were in like their relationships and shit like that. So I think that the goal is just to find a healthy male figure in your life, even if it's just a healthy male mentor, where there's absolutely no chance of there being any fucking like any outs, because then like if you have a mentor who you don't know, I just say like make sure that there are clear boundaries as to where like nothing can get overstepped. I know that sounds fucked up, but it's just such a true reality. So finding a man in your life who you can really trust and confide in, I think can help heal and fill some of those spaces where you feel so like desperate or needing to have that male energy in a sexual relationship or in a relationship as a whole, because it doesn't even fulfill you. That's why you keep wanting more, because it's not fulfilling. Like, it really isn't. And I have also dedicated 2 years, really a year, but 2 years to really trying to love myself unconditionally. It was just bumps and lumps in the first year, but it still counts. So 2 years. Because year one after my relationship was me really like actively trying to just fucking relax and heal and rest, because my nervous system was so fucked up. But I think that loving myself unconditionally has set this standard so high, and I'm still honestly in the practice of it, so you know, I'm giving myself grace. But I think that, yeah, like loving myself, practicing that, somebody has to love me as much as I love myself, but that's a fucking lot right now. Somebody has to do all of the things that I do for myself, and that's a lot. Like, I did a face mask this morning, I meditated, I wrote. Like, I want somebody to have as healthy of a relationship with that as possible. I wrote a list of some other things that I think that I would want my partner to have, but I think that self-love, I want my friends to have it, I want my partners to have it, I want my parents to feel just like so in love with themselves. And I think that that's also been helpful for me, like watching my parents' self-love journey simultaneously. Although I might not like see every step by step that they grow through, I think that I've learned a lot about loving myself as I watch my mom be like unconditionally loving towards herself, as I watch my dad be unconditionally loving towards himself. They're able to express certain things that they're growing through and glowing through. They're able to eloquently express certain struggles that they had in the past and how they grew through that, and certain reflections of ways that they might have felt like they've fucked up, and ways that they've kind of helped repair that. So I'm just really grateful for that transparency. But again, I try to keep in mind people who might not have that relationship with their parents. I think that you can live vicariously through other people. Live vicariously through me, you know? Live vicariously through your favorite person who is transparent about their shit. Because some people, you live vicariously through them, and their reality ain't really their reality. Their reality is a whole delusion. They ain't happy. So I think that that was really helpful. But I think that at the end of the day, it was more than that. I think it really is about me. I had to get determined. Like, not loving me made me feel so uncomfortable. Not loving me made me feel so angry. I think that not loving me brought in relationships and even friendships where I was like, ew, if you're a reflection of how I'm treating myself, I gotta get my shit together. Like, that's literally how I felt after my last relationship. Like, my last friendship that I had to, my last friendship that I had to take a step away from, the way that I was treated in that relationship was a reflection of how I was treating myself when we first met in 2019. And I think that that's very interesting. Another friendship that I had to take a step away from, but that one really like ended, was I feel like she helped me see a lot of myself in certain ways, but I also think that she the way that she talked to me after a while was like, no, like, this is not how friends talk to each other. This is not how I talk to myself anymore. So you can't talk to me like this anymore. And even when it comes to arguments, like, I refuse to argue with my friends. I'm not about to argue with you. So I think that's probably another major thing in, like, relationships. Like, I argued so much, and friendships, I argued so much in my relationship. I'm not arguing. I'm not, like, I can't. Like, it's like solo vibrational. It takes so much energy. But when you are in a space where you're used to arguing, it's the norm, right? Like, I was arguing with everybody when I was in my relationship because it was my norm. Like, I was on defense at all times. Like, the rose was attacking me and nobody was on my side. So yeah, I was argumentative. So I think that's definitely something to think about. And yeah, it's just very interesting. It's very eye-opening. And I never thought that my heart would be open to, like, a healthy relationship, which is why I'm mentioning these boundaries now, because I think that this is what will make a relationship healthy for me. Like, if my person is vegan, I'll know for sure that they're my person. If my person is caring and considerate, like, to other people outside of people that she is having sex with, then I think that's big. If my person is kind, not nice, but kind. If my person loves animals, I feel like that is definitely, like, a good depiction of if somebody's, like, a good person or not. Like, if you're not kind to animals and respectful of animals, that's just always weird to me. Like, not liking them, sus, but, like, not respecting them is even worse for me. So yeah, like, certain things like that I think are really important. And I even remember Nigel asked me in the interview that's coming up if I would date somebody, if I'm dating somebody, would my communication style be different? Like, would I reply to their text faster? And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah. And now I want to ask myself, like, why is that? Like, what is that about? Because what if, not that I would have to have a similar communication style to my friends. So I understand my communication style with my friends is extreme. Like, we really take weeks to text each other back. You know, it just is what it is. But I think that I will say the friendship that I ended, we spoke every day. We spoke every single day and probably saw each other 4 to 5 times a month. And that's another thing I want to tell my friends. Like, for all relationships, let me miss you. Because I get overstimulated in friendships, and if I'm around you, I'm going to start nitpicking and seeing shit. And you know, I can be graceful, but it's just a lot. I'm getting stressed out thinking about it. Like, I can't even be like, oh, I'm going to come down and visit you. Like, okay, but make it be for like 3 days, because I cannot, like, be around people for more than that. So that's just some real shit. That's some me shit. That is me shit. It has nothing to do with you. I can't even be around my cat for 8 days consistently, like, without us taking space away from each other. Because that's just, how can you do that? Like, maybe if people grew up with siblings, they're used to it, but I'm a fucking only child. I need my own space. So there's that aspect of things. So it's like, you know, when I was talking to my friend every single day, I didn't realize how fucking unproductive I was being until the friendship ended. And I had this long list of shit that I was supposed to be doing, and I was playing catch up on all this stuff. And every day I was focusing on my work because I don't know what she had going on in her life. I can't even tell you. Did she have a job? She worked remotely from home. But yeah, would literally, like, voice note me in between, like, her work calls and shit. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. So I would much rather be on the other spectrum of having friends who communicate with me once a week, or if that, than having friends that talk to me every fucking day and take up my entire day. And then I look at the clock and it's 8 o'clock and we've been talking from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Are we fucking? Like, you know, I don't know. It was very interesting. So, I don't know. I think that in my future relationship, would I want to talk to them every day? Yeah, I would love to check in and have conversations. And I would love it to be that type of relationship where I would want to have a partner where I can talk to them every day. But would I talk to them every day? Like I said, I want to desire it, but in a healthy way. Can we have deep conversations? You know what I'm saying? Can we talk about shit that's, like, tantalizing? And then also, like, it will make it more fun for us when we finally do meet up and we have shit to talk about. So, I don't know. I'm navigating all this. But I'm so excited, y'all. Like, it felt good to get that out. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so excited about what's to come. Like, there's so much. Patreon is this and more. You get lots more tea, lots more details. We have really fun conversations. I have random thoughts throughout the day that I just wanted to share with people. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I have some amazing interviews coming up. Y'all know I interviewed my mom. That is going to be the first episode that comes out. Like, I'm so excited about it. But yeah, this is going to be a great year, 2024, for all of us. And I want us to write down 5 goals for ourselves for 2024. I don't know if I just said 2023 before, but 2024, 5 goals that will help us love ourselves more. 5 things we want to do that will help us love ourselves more, whatever the case may be. And then I want us to create a list of 5 things that will be more enjoyable for our lives. Let me write this down because that will make our lives more enjoyable. I want to come back with my list when I return after some of these interviews, okay? I mean, I'm still going to be here during the interviews, but 5 things. What did I say? 5 things we want to love more about ourselves? Oh, shit, I got to watch this back now. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm so excited. Major shout outs. Y'all already know the spiel to heavenhighnyc.com. That's where y'all can get all of your plant medicine. If y'all love my jewelry, you can head to imanijewelry.com. Be sure to use the code LOVEATIYA for 10% off. And then if you love sex toys, you can head to shopsadora.com. It is a black-owned, woman-owned sex toy shop. And you can use the code LOVEATIYA to get 15% off. And I don't know if y'all have been working in your sensual self books that I mentioned in the last episode, but we're going to start this together in 2024. I already started it, so hop on it. But it's $14.99, and then you can use my code to get 15% off. So remember, that's from shopsadora.com. I literally love y'all so much. If you want more of this, you can click the link in my description and check out Patreon, where you will see extra bonus content that will be sent out throughout the year on there. I'm super excited. I'm really going to be really consistent on there. And then also sign up for my Pleasure Positive playlist. And I like my musical playlist where you can masturbate to. And then feel free to sign up for my pleasure tips, which once again I'm going to be posted once a month. So those are free. And so if you're not able to afford the Patreon, I think that the pleasure tips are a really great way to just stay connected. So you can head to loveatiya.com/sign up and sign up as it says in the description of the URL. I love y'all so much. Happy New Year. Let's act like the countdown's happening. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Shake your titties! I love you so much. Give yourself a hug for me. I'm so excited. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others. Subscribe on YouTube if you love me. And I love you so much. Seriously, happy freaking New Year. Feel free to leave a New Year review under Apple Podcasts, because I haven't had to ask y'all for that ever. I think I have like 20 reviews right now, and that makes my heart so happy. So if you didn't know that you could leave a review, you can, and I'd love for you to let me know what your favorite part of the podcast is. I love you so much. I'm giving you wet, sloppy fucking kisses. Besos, bitches. Mwah.